What's going on, guys? Today I wanted to make a little bit more of a serious video where I bring this G&P Stoner 63 into the spotlight because I think that this is one of the best, if not arguably the best Airsoft LMG on the Airsoft market. And I wanted to do this because these things are starting to come back in stock on various websites. eHobby Asia and Red Wolf Airsoft, and then Airsoft Junkies has them on pre-order right now. So pay attention because these things go really quick, even if they're priced at very, very high price points. So get your wallet ready, or get your PayPal credit or Affirm payments ready, or whatever it is that you're going to use to pay for this thing, because like I said, they go quick. They're already sold out on Red Wolf Airsoft, and they were just in stock yesterday, and I watched the ticker for the, how many is left in stock go out pretty much in live action. So they're currently in stock on eHobby Asia. There's only 2 left, so I think that they're going to go pretty quick. And eHobby Asia and Red Wolf Airsoft are really trusted sites. They do whatever they can to make sure that your Airsoft replica is able to be imported safely and in a timely manner in whatever country that you're able to buy from, so long as they're willing to ship it to you. And very few people have had problems with them. They're very reliable sites too, and they've been in the game probably longer than I have, and I've been in the game of Airsoft for 12 years. So with that said, let's talk about this absolutely wonderful LMG. So again, this is a G&P Stoner 63, and when you're looking up this gun, trying to find it in stock, use the keywords G&P Stoner 63, G&P M63A1 or just M63, or G&P Mark 23 or MK23. Not to confuse it with the TM or the Novrich MK23, which is the, big USP style pistol with the suppressor on it that everybody loves. So what makes this thing so great? Well, first and foremost, this is not a very large LMG. Typically LMGs are pretty big. The RPK is much longer than this. You have the M60s, 249s, PKMs, MG42, PKP. These are all really big LMGs in comparison to this. They're either going to be bulkier or they're going to be longer, or both. Some of them are taller, like the VFC Mark 48 that just came out has a box mag that's like that tall. So it's like you just have to be aware of this. To give you guys a size comparison, this is my G&G AK-104, and as you can see, let's see if it's lined up. Okay, we'll bring this down. Yeah, that's about lined up. The Stoner 63 is about the same length, so that is an excellent length. And not only that, it's not that bulky either. I mean, the feed tray is a little bulky, handguard's a little bulky, and you have the box mag, which makes it a bit on the bulky side. But in comparison to some other LMGs, I mean, look at how nicely mounted the box mag is. It's almost centered, right? And the advantage of that is that you don't have to reach around so much box mag. Like, for example, the ANK M60s, they sit off to the left. So if you're a right-handed person, you're trying to hold the front end of it, it's a pain in the ass because you have to reach around the huge canvas box mag, right? And then on top of that, if you have like an MG42, it's the same way. Whereas with something like this, it's still mounted underneath, but yet it has a very LMG-like appearance because of the feed tray, and also because, this is the cover for where the actual, belt of bullets would come up out of there, and it's absolutely awesome looking. Let me flip this open. So there you go. Now, here's the next advantage of this gun. It features a V2 gearbox with very few proprietary parts. The air nozzle is not normal, normal length for, an M4. It's some kind of weird length. I'd have to measure it to figure out exactly what it is, but it is an aluminum one with an O-ring, so it typically gets better compression than your standard, POM or nylon ones that come in most guns stock. So you don't really need to replace it so long as it pairs with your cylinder head well. This gun is not stock, so I will shoot it, chrono it and get a range test and stuff like that if people want to see it. But again, it's not stock. It's got an aftermarket motor, SHS gears, different piston. It's also got a modified flat hop bucking and nub, and it's got an aftermarket cylinder head to help with the compression because the stock one took a dump. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's not, super upgraded. So yeah, V2 gearbox. The trigger is definitely different from an M4. I don't know if you could get an M4 trigger to work in it, but that's, as you can see, it's a little goofy. And then the trigger contact / wiring harness is goofy because it's built to work with the box mag. So the box magazine, let's show that off again, has this thing on it. It's a module that helps hook into the top feed tray. There's your hop-up unit, which is essentially an upside-down AUG hop-up unit, is what a lot of people have said. Let's, pardon me if I bump into the camera, but let's bring that a little closer. So there's the hop-up unit. It's a little goofy. And so I have these pieces of electrical tape in here to cover up the brass contacts that mate with these. So what this does is it makes it so that way when you pull the trigger, the box mag winds automatically. I don't like that so much because this box mag has a tendency to overwind itself when you're using it. Now, most of the time people don't mind it, but I have a problem with it because it'll continue to wind for a second or two after you pull the trigger, thus resulting in the overwinding, which can be a little bit bad because if you're putting a lot of tension on the internal spring, and these box magazines are like over $100, so you don't want to break it, and they're kind of hard to find too. So I configured mine to make it so that way this little switch is what I use to wind it on my own, but there's also another switch tucked away right there. You can see it. See, do I have the battery in still? Oh, I do. Okay, that's not good. But as you can hear, it just wound itself up a little bit. So yeah, if I click this, it's like an on-off switch where I click it, it's on, click it, it's off. So yeah, it's a neat little configuration I have, and now if I open this thing up, I'm gonna spill BBs everywhere if I'm not careful, but oh well. So that is one of the most handy things about it. And the saddle for this thing, or the cradle for it, this part, and then underneath, it's a bit of a pain in the ass to load in. However, it's really solid because I do believe it is made out of steel. Well, let's test that because I have a magnet with me, aka an ICS motor. As you can see, I mean, it's not a strong motor, so it doesn't stick very well, but it does stick to it, which is awesome. Other various steel components include the handguard heat shield up here. Barrel is not. Flash hider is. What about this thing? Nope. Let's see. This? Nope. Nope. Sling mount is. And then other various parts. Looks like a part of the rear sight is. This part is. Oh, that's definitely steel. And the pins and stuff like that. The stock and the pardon me, my voice is being stupid. The stock and pistol grip and then the handguard are made out of like a polymer / nylon material, and the rest I do believe is made out of aluminum. I don't know what the real Stoner 63 is made out of, but I do believe, I wouldn't doubt it if it was steel, so it's heavier. This thing comes in fully loaded at about 10 to 12 pounds. So compare that to, let's just say, 249, like a full metal 249, full metal M60, full metal PKM, something like that, you know, the ANKs and stuff like that. You're, you know, looking at an extra, you know, 5 to 10 pounds lighter over those two. The 249s aren't terribly heavy because there's a lot of aluminum and polymer there too. But I mean, they're much bigger and bulkier, and the box magazines take up a lot more real estate underneath the gun. The other plus side about this thing is that it still looks like an LMG, right? You know, you see this feed tray, you got the cover here, the box mag. It has a very LMG-like presence, with the exception of some people who have no idea what it is because they don't know their guns that well. But for the most part, people see it and they're like, even if they don't know what it is, they're like, yeah, that's an LMG. Whereas when people see RPKs, the Shrikes, aka like the Crytek LMG or an ICS LEG6, they tend to treat it sort of like it's just in a big assault rifle, so they get a little freaked out when you use it. And this can either be people at fields, like other players at fields where full auto is only allowed for LMGs or SMGs like my field is, or at like events where, you know, the staff running or helping coordinate the event may not understand, you know, oh, this is an LMG that's allowed to go full auto when you're talking about like an RPK, especially like the RPK 16. It really just looks like a big like AK assault rifle, right? Or and the Shrike too, especially if someone's not running the box mag in it, it really just looks like an M4 that has like a slightly larger, bulkier upper if you don't know what it is. So this is definitely less likely to be mistaken as an assault rifle or something like that, especially because it has no capability of accepting like an M4 mag or something like that. When you look at the receiver, it definitely does not have that appearance to it. And just in case your field is a little bit extra anal about any kind of rules when it comes to firing, you know, your gun in full auto and this and that and the other or something like that, or, you know, I should say particular, I kind of hate that word, but at the same time, it's also just like, you know, it's true though, they get anal about stuff sometimes. This has a selector switch, so there's full auto and this is semi-auto, and then here's the safety. I don't have a battery in, but the safety functions very well, and then there you go. And again, this is what allows you to, you know, switch fire selection modes. And also the pistol grip houses a long tight motor, so I mean most of the stuff, like I said, is going to be standard V2 M4 parts in it, which is great. The full stock does not fold or anything like that, but it's pretty solid, and it also houses a huge battery space, so it's super convenient in that way too. So essentially, I mean, this thing is one of the most perfect LMGs in the sense that it is good looking, it's solid, and it's maneuverable, it's upgradable. It's not terribly hard to take apart, but it's not easy. There's guns that are easier. Holds a decent capacity, 1,200 rounds. I mean, that's on the lower end of things, but I mean, it's definitely way more than, you know, like an M4 mid cap or something like that. It's not too hard to fill up. It's powered by a 9-volt battery, so it's not, you know, you don't have to worry about having, like, you know, the battery, you know, the box mag siphon power from your main battery or anything like that. Just carry a couple 9 volts with you, you know, and the nice thing is you can always lick the terminals to test it, which, you know, I don't, quote unquote, I'm not recommending that, but that's totally what I do. And then it's also easy to just, you know, mount the box mag on and get this little, you know, the feeding mechanism in, and it feeds perfectly. You never have to worry about it not feeding. These things out of the box on 11.1 volt lipos, because it comes with a G&P M120 high-speed motor, I think they crank out like 27 rounds a second, so, or 28 or something like that, and this kept up with it fine. You know, I run it at about 24 rounds a second right now, keeps up with it no problem. It's an absolute beast. The version that you see sitting in front of you right now is the weathered edition. I don't know if these things are made at all anymore. I've never seen one since I bought it, which was 5 years ago. So if that tells you anything, this thing's 5 years old and it still looks incredible. And on top of that, you know, I haven't had any like really major issues with it. I did have a compression issue at one point. Then, you know, I just replaced the cylinder head, and that's a $12 part. So that's gone. And, you know, the only other thing is I just chose to do the upgrades that I wanted to do. And then I did the little box mag rigging just because, again, it just made me feel a little bit better. Otherwise, just other things to note about this gun is that the threads for the flash hider and stuff up here, it is 14mm positive. So what that means is most guns, it's, you know, lefty tighty, righty loosey, because they're always counterclockwise threads, but as you can see in this one, it's just standard threads. So if you're going to put anything on there, just know that these are positive threads, so lefty loosey, righty tighty stuff. And then another thing to note too, to go back to the versions that are out there, there's just a standard version, and then there's also the railed limited edition. I say that like that because they keep making them, so we'll have a rail up top here in the feed tray, and then it has rails on the side and on the bottom, but it does not have the charging handle when you get the railed edition, whereas this one does, which a lot of people mistake is like a tiny grip. It's not a grip, it's the charging handle with the world's stiffest spring behind it. But yeah, it's really handy to get the one with the rails on it if you're interested in mounting an optic or like a run cam, and then if you want a grip on here or like some other accessories on the side. You can get a rail kit out there somewhere, but typically they're like, you know, out of stock all the time, and then when they come in stock, they're gone like that. So just be wary of that. Otherwise, this thing is phenomenal. All right, this is an absolutely phenomenal LMG. Out of the box performance is great. It's upgradable. It's reliable, solid. I mean, I've used this thing a good number of times, and nothing has ever really fallen off or made me feel like it was gonna wiggle apart and get loose or something like that. So again, I wanted to bring this into the spotlight because I wanted to bring this to people's attention that, hey, they're still being made. These aren't completely discontinued. Be on the lookout for them, be vigilant. Get email alerts from the website so that way you know immediately when they're in stock. Set aside some money, get ready to pick one up if you're interested. I highly recommend it. It's probably the best LMG I've ever owned, just simply due to the fact that it's super convenient to use, maneuvers like a rifle. As you saw, it wasn't that much longer. It's like, what, an inch longer than my AK-104. It's not heavy, it's upgradable, it's like easy to, you know, source parts for in the internals. There's G&P does make you know, parts that you can get from them to, you know, help put things, you know, back together if you break them, like hop up unit, a pistol grip, the box mag, but they go quick, so just be warned about that. But this is all I got to say, guys. I love this gun, and as always, happy airsofting.